There's a Dutch phrase that I've thought about ever since I learned it a decade ago. It's something like "doe normaal." Apologies to all of the Dutch speakers in advance. It comes from a full saying that translates to something like "just act normal," because that's already crazy enough.
There is a very famous phrase here in the Netherlands that people live by. It is "doe normaal, dan doe je al gek genoeg." Did I say it right?
Now, as it was explained to me, to do normaal or do it normal is to avoid being too weird or attention-seeking or boastful or annoying and just be normal. You know, the type of normal person that you would want to hang out with. And since I learned this phrase, every year there's been more and more occasion for me to wonder why we can't all just do normal.
Give me a refund. Give me a refund.
I was reminded of this during a recent interview with the rapper Earl Sweatshirt.
Like, if you're like a chill guy, but you're like not a child soldier, but you're like also not a bitch, you need to listen to De La Soul so that you understand that being a chill guy has been covered before really well.
And while Earl says cool guy and chill guy, I think both of those here are pretty interchangeable with what it means to do normal. Now, while I'd love to do a full video about why y'all need to listen to De La Soul, because you do, today I'm gonna talk about why we all need to relearn how to be normal or cool or chill or whatever word describes something that's more human than the thing that we're currently doing. Because as you might have noticed, things have gotten weird as hell. And this isn't an individual problem, it's a systemic one, as we're all existing in and actively perpetuating a culture that's making us act insane. Or as theorist Anna Kornbluh puts it in her book Immediacy, shit is very bad. But it doesn't have to be. So today, let's talk about it and figure out how we can normal our way back to a shared sense of humanity. Okay, so this might sound a little bit counterintuitive, but according to one contemporary philosopher, the reason that things feel so bad is that our culture has become way too positive. Because everywhere we look, there are messages about achievement, accomplishment, entrepreneurship, hustle, passive income, all telling us that anything is possible if we just put on our hustle hat and focus on that grind set. And of course, the flip side of this ideology of individual achievement is that failure is also just a matter of individual responsibility. Now, according to Byung-Chul Han, this endless well of opportunity and possibility leaves us feeling terrible. He writes that the complaint of the depressive individual, nothing is possible, can only occur in a society that thinks nothing is impossible. You know, it's like you're at a restaurant and the menu has 100 pages and literally any food you can imagine. Like, how the hell are you going to decide what to order? You know, and then once you finally do order, if whatever you got sucks, then isn't it kind of your fault because you chose poorly? It was your freedom that means that you're eating big ziti enchiladas. Except in this instance, everything is possible all the time. Every piece of information is always available. Every piece of media is just waiting to be consumed. Every consumer product is actually 25% off right now with this code that's just for you today. Every lover is only a swipe away. Every article and every tab that you haven't read is going to change your life. You know, every podcast that you have saved will entertain you like nothing before, and it's all too much. Yep, it's all too much. So in the face of everything, we do nothing. Or put differently, we do a lot of little nothings to avoid confronting the one big nothing. And none of it feels particularly human. Han writes that depression is the sickness of a society that suffers from excessive positivity. It reflects a humanity waging war on itself. Now, Han sees a societal sickness here, where the inhuman demands of the attention and achievement economy are in direct contradiction to the nature of our own humanity. And I think urban theorist Sean Carter can help us understand this a little bit better. In his verse on the 2005 song Diamonds from Sierra Leone, Carter, here performing as Jay-Z, raps, "I'm not a businessman, I'm a business man." Now, the point here is that Mr. Carter, or Jay, is not to be regarded as a human man that carries out various business interests. He is, in fact, a business entity himself. You know, his individual humanity has been transcended. He is a brand at the ontological level. The aims of humanity superseded for the sake of the endless pursuit of growth and profit. To be man is finite, but to be business man is infinite. Also, let me know in the comments if you've ever owned a piece of Rockaware. This video is sponsored by Mint Mobile, and it's thanks to sponsors like Mint Mobile that I can afford to keep making videos like this while also paying my very attractive and impressive team for all the great work that they do. Okay, so you know how choosing a mobile phone and a plan is often so stressful and expensive? Well, Mint Mobile is bucking that trend by offering you great service without asking you to spend a ton of money. And right now, for a limited time, you can get 50% off an unlimited premium wireless plan from Mint. Lock in Mint's lowest price of the year and pay just $15 a month for a 3, 6, or 12-month plan. Now, they made this possible by reimagining the wireless shopping experience, making it easy and online. You know, they don't make you travel to a store and talk to a salesperson and wait in line just to get yourself a new phone with a good plan. Now, all of their plans include unlimited talk and text on the nation's largest 5G network, plus free calling to Mexico, Canada, and the UK. And a mobile hotspot is also included. Mint Mobile's coverage is on the nation's largest 5G network, providing 5G for 98% of Americans and 4G LTE to 99% of Americans. You can sign up with your own unlocked phone, or you can shop for the latest phones with Mint. Now, either way, when you switch to Mint Mobile, you are going to keep your existing phone number and all of your existing contacts. Now, switching is super easy. You can sign up and activate in minutes with eSIM from wherever you're currently sitting or standing right now. And all plans come with a 7-day unconditional money-back guarantee. So click the link in my description, or you can just scan the code on the screen. And right now, for a limited time, you can get 50% off an unlimited premium wireless plan from Mint. Lock in Mint's lowest price of the year and pay just $15 a month for a 3, 6, or 12-month plan. Now, this same too muchness is also present in our dominant modes of cultural practice and consumption, where immersive experience has taken over the space of contemplative thought. Now, this form of culture, communication, and consumption is making us way less chill and also way less human. Obviously, the overwhelming experience of being online or attending an immersive art exhibit are both useful examples here, but I've recently thought about what happens in my own life when any walk must be accompanied by a podcast episode or an album. You know, any dead air must be filled. You know, in some ways, in doing this, it's like I remove the possibility for some free and slow human thought. I'm removing the possibility of contemplation and reflection because I'm just consuming at a rapid clip. I'm trying to be better about it, though. The theorist Anna Kornbluh writes about this in what I think is one of the most important books in years, Immediacy, or the Style of Too Late Capitalism. And in this book, she writes, whether we're filming ourselves seeing a famous work of art in a museum, or attending a protest, sharing viral video of police violence, or fixating on hashtags for imminent transmissions from active shooter situations, images, clicks, dopamine hits, and their capture as data become the modalities in which we live out our self-presence. Swipe left, swipe right.
Charlie Kirk, Outer TikTok, Mormon Central, Utah. There was a gun that just fired off here at Charlie Kirk. I am not playing with y'all. Hey, make sure you go to church on Sunday. Read the Book of Mormon. This is not a drill. I'm not playing with y'all. Hey, Jesus is Lord. Jesus will protect you. Jesus is your savior, bro. I'm not even lying. Make sure you subscribe to Outer TikTok on Instagram.
In other words, we live how we swipe, and I guess we swipe how we live, you know? The goal should always be to live our raps, but instead we're just living our swipes. Now, in this culture of immediacy, things happen and we react. Whether that's posting on TikTok during an active shooter situation, or feeling an almost unconscious compulsion to offer our analysis, the day's political drama, so that everyone knows that we're monitoring the situation.
It is unfathomable how bad this will be for the United States. Like this is not a thing that winning another election solves.
And before you say anything, yeah, I do this. I've done this way too much on my social media over the years. I'm trying to do it less. It's a weird thing. Like something happens and it's, you know, part of my brain is like, well, the world must need to know what I think. You don't. You don't. These immediate takes and reactions become an essential performance of our self-identity. You know, this is what it means to live, to exist, to participate in society and culture. But this is in opposition to the practice of mediation, where we have the space and time to reflect critically on art, culture, and politics before arriving at a definitive take. It's a more human way of thought and experience as opposed to the algorithmic immediacy of our current culture. In other words, culture and media should be objects for thought and contemplation, not merely immediate representations of reality without any need for further thought or interrogation. This is like one of the problems with AI stuff, right? When we're so used to just immediately consuming things on the internet, then we see like a crazy video of something that didn't happen, but then we're like, oh, did it though? Did it happen though? And your grandma calls you and she's like, are you okay? And you're like, what's wrong, grandma? And she's like, I've heard the communists have taken over California. And then you realize that your last grandma died 10 years ago. You don't have a grandma. Who are you talking to? What's even happening? Why did you're not even on the phone. Where is that voice? And this culture of digital immediacy is legit fucking up our brains. Kornblow writes that a torrent of images is wreaking serious symptoms researchers identify as memory impairment, heightened anxiety, generalized frustration, chronic fatigue, and simply being overwhelmed by a constant flow. Because the infinite images machine makes us anxious, frustrated, exhausted, and overwhelmed. And then we go on to the infinite images machine to express how anxious, frustrated, exhausted, and overwhelmed we are. We just keep doing the thing. Doesn't even feel good. In fact, it feels quite bad. Even as I was writing this script today, I kept having to stop myself from refreshing social media feeds to see if any reality was happening when I'm away. My fingers were doing the thing where I would just like go on the browser and it's just like, Gmail, Twitter, Blue Sky. Craigslist misconnections. I think one of the most accurate representations of this sort of collective brain damage that Kornblow is talking about can be seen in the 2025 film Eddington. Now, while not the best movie of 2025, I do think it's the film that best captures the cultural and political mood of the last 5 years. It explores the psychic horrors of modern life by showing how the constant onslaught of images and news and content all consumed with an immediate urgency is driving us nuts and increasingly shaping our social and political relations. Now, the film's writer and director, Ari Aster, said that he wanted to make a film where I could pull back and describe what it feels like to live in a world where nobody agrees unless actually happens. He's also said that it's a movie where everybody's living on the internet. They're all living in different realities and they're unreachable to each other. And this is what it feels like when we're all able to construct and then be constructed by curated realities immediately produced by algorithms that never sleep and take no days off. Shout out to algorithms for having that grind set. There's a sense of hopelessness in the film, and Aster describes the effect of this technological revolution as creating a pretty dehumanizing world. But there is some hope hidden in our digital dystopia. Aster describes it as a sort of perverse solidarity that could be achieved in looking back and seeing the insanity of our collective situation back then and being encouraged to ask whether there's another way. When Aster says back then, he's referring to the spring 2020 setting of the film. Spring 2020, what a time. Which is why talking about this stuff isn't just doomerism. It can hopefully create the space for us to see what's been happening so we can then work together to create another way of doing things. Also, if you want to hear me talk more about Eddington, I made a video last year that gets into some of this stuff with a little more political depth. Okay, so let's talk specifically about internet video content, including this lovely platform that's brought us together today. Thanks, YouTube. Now, writing about the transition of video from the cinematic and televised form to this digital form, Anna Kornblow writes that if this, YouTube and TikTok, rather than the multiplex is where video lives, it's all stream, all a circulation forward, expressivist, authentic, non-fictional immediacy. The spate of the stream dilutes all tributary media, rendering stream style nothing more than liquid billow. In this way, the digital video stream isn't just a form of content, but a style unto itself. Or put a little bit differently, the form of immediate consumption becomes its own style. This is why so much internet content is about internet content, or like about the consumption of various forms of internet content and the replication of those forms of consumption in a way that can then be consumed. Oh boy. It's how we end up with stuff like this.
Honestly, this cake looks like that one Snapchat account that I reviewed in an older video where they just put like rainbow sprinkles and eggs in a waffle maker machine and was like, wow, this came out so amazing.
And this.
What we're creating by putting these two companies together is a real competitor to Netflix, a real competitor to Amazon, a real competitor to Disney.
Now, Kornbluh notes another shift that accompanies the digital video stream, writing that the mode and genres of immediacy now suggest a different function for favored entertainment. Not evasive delusion about, but deeper enthrallment in the spectacle of mass abjection and enveloping total sensory engagement with too real social distortion. I mean, this spectacle of mass abjection explains why this past weekend, all my social media feeds alternated between horrifying images of the ICE occupation of Minneapolis and then clips of a crew of like Nazi adjacent online sex offender guys partying with each other and being mean to girls. And this all leads to a type of insanity where we long for an existence that's more aligned with this digital reality.
We need a new place on the computer where we can be epic mind soldiers who live by the Assassin's Creed and do the most epic of legendary behavior. I'm talking about a place that's not a website. It's not a website! It's a different reality! It's a whole new world where we can be whoever the F we want to be.
And when we become more computer, our embodied humanity matters less and less.
Hey, the body is bad, the body's not good. The body is bad, the body's not good.
And the end game of this vision of reality is simply doing computer all day, maybe even from within the computer itself.
This is the final evolution of humanity. A non-religious digital Christianity. We are free of pain. We are free of hate. Enter the endorphin port and don't be late.
But this isn't just an online problem or even a humans who spend too much time online problem, as this cultural shift is actually reshaping our material reality. Kornbluh notes that the material corollary of this stylized time is the inevitable environmental ruin wreaked by undead zombie capitalism. The point here is that this shift in our experience of time and culture, because of its reliance on ever-expanding digital technologies, is shaping our physical world. For example, the drive for more instantly consumable content has led to the creation of various AI creation tools, which then all necessitate the power of sprawling AI data centers that are already devastating poor and vulnerable communities in America. You know, we can't have this without this.
We went to Memphis and found an environmental crime scene. Musk's data center burning enough methane to power a small city with no permits and no pollution controls.
Which is why the real antagonist of Eddington is the massive data center being built on the edge of town. We tried to create the computer in our image, and now the computer is slowly recreating us in its image. Now, I've talked about this in a lot more depth in another video, but Jean-Paul Sartre wrote about this via his concept of worked matter, or the practico inert, which describes what happens when the object of human labor becomes a type of human itself, with the ability to imagine and project a future for us to bring about on its behalf. While humans actively create digital tools, we then become passive when these same tools begin to use us to shape history. You know, they demand something from us. They insist on their own logic. I mean, this is why in Eddington, Sheriff Joe Cross, the subject, becomes Mayor Joe Cross, the object of the data center. But all is not lost, because not only can facing up to the reality of our dehumanizing situation bring us a sense of solidarity that we're all in this bullshit together, we can also fight against the culture of immediacy that's driving this whole project. Kornbluh notes the special role that teachers can have in this fight. And I'd like to take some liberty here and apply the category of teacher a little bit more broadly to all of those committed to the project of education, whether they be teachers, book group facilitators, parents, edutainment content creators, or just friends that like to have conversations where they teach each other stuff. Kornbluh writes that we teachers have a special opening. Our classrooms can be clinics of immediacy, where we thicken the symbolic, estrange language, closely read, uncover unknowns, slow down, value impersonality, construct objectivity. Spaces of education should not utilize a logic of immediacy, a sort of pedagogy that reminds me of Paulo Freire's banking model, to efficiently communicate meaning. Rather, they should create space to complicate immediate readings. To present ideas in text is almost foreign so that we can encounter them carefully and slowly, taking the time to wrestle with them rather than just immediately submitting. I mean, all the better when this is done in a communal setting, as creating culture and intellectual collaboration directly contradicts the individualist logic of immediacy and its spiritual daddy, neoliberalism. And even if we're not currently in a classroom setting, I think we can take this call to heart in the various ways that we all discuss ideas with other people. Towards the end of the book, Kornbluh writes that the old world is dying, but immediacy poorly midwives the new world's struggle to be born. It's not too late for us to build things less worse. Mediation is not a luxury. Let's get it on. But how do we get it on? I'm honestly not totally sure, but hey, let's try to figure this out together. You know, on my end, I'm trying to figure out how to make videos that open up the space for more collective thought and conversation, ultimately aiming for the space of rehumanization that I know I desperately need. Maybe you do as well. And over on Burns Theory, my learning community on Patreon, I'm going to be taking Kornbluh's advice to teachers very seriously this year. On a more practical note, I think when possible, we should read more books, and even better, we should read them with other people and then talk about them communally and curiously. You know, with people, we read the books, we talk about the books with the people. And another thing I'm trying to do is make my own algorithms more human by intentionally following people whose work I believe in, making sure that when I watch or read or listen to something that I like, that I share those things with my friends and community and tell them why I value them so much. It's not that much, it's not a big revolutionary thing, but it's the difference between a human being told me to check this thing out and a zombie algorithm practicing ruthless attention capture told me to check this thing out. You know, they're different. They're different things. Because we don't just need more mediation, we need more humanity. Now I'm gonna give the final word today to writer George Saunders, who spoke about this in a recent New York Times interview.
The rate at which we're being encouraged to forego human to human activity, that's an amazing thing. And it seems to me driven by, not to sound like a cliche, but it is driven by corporate hegemony. These forces are subtly encouraging us to see a human-to-human reaction as somehow second level. And I think we're going along with it, sort of. I think somehow we're devaluing human-to-human contact, which is really the only thing that there is.
Let me know what you think about all of this, and maybe show this video to someone that you like talking to, and then you have a conversation about it together. I don't know. Is that weird? Is that weird? It's one of those things that probably like feels weird now, but it's probably a little more do it normal. Hey, and in case you didn't know, this channel is made possible by my patrons. So consider signing up if you want to support this work and help the channel grow this year. As I mentioned a little bit ago, I'm launching my updated learning community, Burns Theory, over on Patreon soon. We're going to have lectures, office hours, and talks from visiting professors and writers, hopefully people like Anna Kornbluh. And finally, go listen to De La Soul. Seriously, start wherever, but my favorite album is Stakes is High.